Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fight for Our Freedom Radio. And I'm your host, Badbaby. And tonight we are honored to have with us Steve Olson from WSO, and we will be allowing you to call in. We'll be taking your calls, answering any questions you might have for us tonight. Hi, Steve. Welcome.
Well, it's great to be here with you, Badbaby, tonight on this Friday, April 28th, 2017. Boy, is the year going fast, is it not?
You know, time is really flying. It really does seem like time is speeding up.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of weird stuff happening right now that I wouldn't be at all surprised if we weren't seeing some kind of, I don't know, aberration, distortion of the time field. And these are things that Einstein said were possible. You know this, right, Badbaby? You know, like when they used to teach physics in high school and they used to make us learn E equals MC squared, and then they made us actually understand it. Do you remember those days?
Yeah.
All right. Well, all in that formula, you know, exists. Like if you get two very gravitationally or magnetically charged objects, like we think is happening right now in the solar system, we think that there are brown dwarf or brown dwarfs in proximity. When we say proximity, somewhere within 50 AU to 100 AU from the Earth at this time. But we're not so much worried about there is going to be gravitational effects, there's going to be effects on the sun. We're going to talk about that more tonight, and some things that they're doing to try to combat this stuff. But at the end of the day, Einstein's theory did allow for time-space distortion. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
I heard today that there was more power outages. Did you hear about that?
Mm-hmm.
Where are they at? Do you know?
There's intermittent all over the country, and they actually have been happening all week. They're just not getting reported, my friend.
Really?
Yeah. Really.
I've been busy out on the lawnmower, so I haven't been, keeping up with what's going on. So you're going to have to catch me up to speed.
Well, and then I got a feed, an inside feed now where I don't get the NASA version of these shots coming out of these models that they're put together to look at the magnetosphere of the Earth. And you can see on these things, Badbaby, and I'll send you the link so you can go check it out yourself later. Man, we are getting buffeted by solar wind right now. I mean, that is a fact, Jack.
Okay, if you're in the chat room window, you can put links up and post them for everybody.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, the box down underneath where everyone's writing, just put it in there and hit enter. There you go. Okay,
yep,
and
everybody
you're doing that, welcome Robert and Jay and everybody that's in the room. Margot, thank you. Everybody, welcome tonight. We're going to have a great show. I do want to make one quick comment about last week's show. I had a lot of problems with my computer that day. It was freezing up. I wasn't able to mute or unmute people, and I had myself muted, and there was something that Scott said about the Bible that I just, I received a bunch of emails, and I want everyone to know that when people say things on my show, I have no idea what they're going to say until they say it, first of all. Just because they say it, everybody, does not mean I agree with everything that they say. He was asked a question about Revelation 12, and he basically told the caller to throw everything out that you learned about in the Bible. It doesn't matter anymore. I don't agree with that. I believe that right now, in view of the fact that this planet's coming in, we need to be spiritually prepared. That, the Bible tells us this is all going to happen. This is when Christ is coming, and maybe that's his view, but that's not my view. So just so you know, I love the Lord, and I believe in the Bible. So, Don't think that I
let's take
think
it on.
you
You know,
should
let's take, hey, Badbaby, let's take on Revelations 12 right now because I think it's a great thing to talk about and start out with.
Okay,
You're talking
great.
to a guy I've been ordained 2 times, and I got kicked out of both churches, just so you know. All right? So I can be known as a heretic, but I definitely know my Bible. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm not a heretic, and that is that God is love, and that nobody's going to get me off that. Anyway, so Revelations chapter 12 is the story of the woman and the dragon. And in this vision that John the Apostle had while he was on the island of Patmos, he was actually exiled there as a disciple of Jesus Christ, whose real name was Yeshua, by the way. You know, they didn't even have J's yet back then, so there couldn't have been a Jesus. But let's just call him Jesus Christ so everybody can relate to that, right?
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, and so John's out there on Patmos, and he's having this vision. God knows what mushroom he ate or what he did to get this vision, and I'm just being facetious. But in chapter 12, a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its heads. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that it might devour her child the moment he was born. She gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter, and her child was snatched up to God and to his throne. The woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days. And then their war breaks out in heaven, blah, blah, blah. All right, so most Nibiru Planet X researchers, we all concur that the dragon, or we all believe that the dragon they're talking about is the Nemesis star system. Right? First of all. You with me, Badbaby?
Right, yeah, because the stars that fall are the debris that comes with the planet.
That's what we believe, okay? And we talk about it on our channel, our YouTube channels all the time ad nauseum. But we believe that John foresaw the approach, I think is the right word for this, by the way, because it's not like it's orbiting us, we're orbiting it. We're kind of like in a binary, trinary dance, and we kind of just swing around each other. But we do get close to each other, and we're getting into one of those periods, and we are most concerned about the debris trail, quite frankly. That's just the truth. Look at the moon. Just go look at the moon. Anybody, please, just look at the moon. It does, you know, look at it with the binoculars. You know what I'm saying, Badbaby?
Yeah.
We know that we get pelted, you know. It's just that our Earth is really good at healing herself, so it's hard to see it. So anyway, 4,000 years ago, check this out, Badbaby. This is a new finding that I just got from a subscriber. By the way, the only reason that WSO works as well as it's working in spite of all the attacks we get is because my subscribers are honestly the best people. I mean, these people care for me, Badbaby. Unbelievable. I love them. And what I mean by that is all of them have their homes open to me. All of them have, you know, they're willing to do anything and everything to help. And anyway, so back to that Revelation 12. So here's this, you know, so that's what we believe. We believe that represents the Nibiru system, and that a lot of things are connected prophetically to the approach of this system. Now, I was learning from the subscriber, 4,000 years ago, we got pelted with asteroids pretty hard, and 8,000 years ago, we got pelted with asteroids pretty hard, and 12,000 years ago, we got pelted with asteroids pretty hard, or at least one big one, according to Graham Hancock and Gordon Randall and those guys. And then the people that are studying this, here's what's interesting about these asteroids. Most of them landed in the northern hemisphere of the Earth. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The top part of the planet. So it would suggest that it's coming from above the ecliptic, as opposed to what a lot of people say, that it would come from below the ecliptic plane of the planets. But anyway, a guy that does a great job on this is David Mead, and I really encourage you guys to go read this book, even though David and I, the only thing we disagree on is that he's pretty certain on that by the end of 2017 that this is all going to, hell's going to break loose. I'm not so sure. And I'll tell you why here in a second. I think things are going to be, like, pushed back to the very last minute, so I'm really reluctant to agree with any date setters. Only thing I disagree with David Mead on. Everything else, I agree 100% with David Mead. And he does this astronomical analysis that shows that the positions of the planets and the way that they looked at this from an astronomy perspective back during the first century is lining up in the sky right now in our constellations and everything. It's lining up so that pretty soon this vision in heaven is going to start, and the dragon's supposed to sweep right across that and try to eat that. I think it's Venus or something. I don't know what the heck. But anyway, point being is, we have like a connected theory in our Nibiru Planet X community that connects to Revelation 12 so tightly. I don't know how you can separate the two. In fact, it's Revelation chapter 12 is one of the things that pushed me over the edge. I never could figure out what the red dragon was. When I was in Bible school, I'm like, red dragon. What the hell is this red dragon? Is it China? Is it, I've tried to figure out prophetically when I was in eschatology classes, I'd be like, what is that? And I never could figure it out.
You know what I always thought it was?
What do you think it was?
In China, when they have the parade and the people are in the dragon and I always thought it was that.
Oh, yeah, see? And that might even be connected. That actually, their traditions might be connected to this whole event, right? That's the tail wagging the dog. But back to this again. But when you put in a brown dwarf star with 7 planets, 10 moons, and several other objects, okay, it makes perfect sense. It fits right in there. And then thinking about something that would sweep a third of the stars out of the sky, blotting them out, and almost seemingly throwing them down, but it's really asteroids, right? I don't mean to laugh. I get nervous and I start laughing. All my subscribers know it.
Well, and that's where we're going to be in some serious trouble when those puppies start peppering the planet.
Well, you know how you and I talk about chemtrails a lot and how they use chemtrails for a variety of things, right? Some of them we don't like at all. Some of them seem nefarious to me, like lithium, right? What the hell are they putting lithium in the sky for, right? And we all know it. They're doing it. Everybody knows they're doing it.
Yeah.
So, but today I got an insider told me that one of the things that they've been doing is, as the system is approaching, it's changing our weather patterns, as we all know. The Earth is tilting. It's causing the poles to it's causing imbalance in the atmosphere of the Earth, okay? Huge, big time, all right? And it's causing, and this is where the Bible talked about that there would be, hailstones that are huge hailstones and things like that. Well,
and we're seeing hailstones. I mean, down in Texas, they keep having softball-sized hailstones.
Right. And I don't know if you ever caught that film from, it was, I think, Indonesia, just last fall, when I think that's their tropical storm season there. And I saw this one where it was like literally hail the size of basketballs, destroying everything, just like it was being bombed, It was unbelievable. And these guys were like under this tin shed. I didn't know how long it was going to hold out.
Crazy.
But anyway.
Well, I saw a video.
So anyway, let me finish the point.
A woman in Texas, she went out and tried to put cardboard boxes over her car so it wouldn't get dented, and one hit her in the top of the head, and it split her head wide open.
And that's what will happen. See, that's why we got to, like, think about what, like, where are you going to take shelter and those kinds of things. But here's the thing. Some of the chemtrailing activity, I found out from an insider, is that they're actually trying to make it so that these larger hailstones cannot form. What do you think of that?
That's a possibility. I don't think they're doing a good job at it.
Well, I mean, let's say that the Texas hailstones would have been sizes of basketballs and they got them down to sizes of softballs. I'd say, okay, all right, that's probably a good thing to do. I don't know. It's going to get rough. It's going to get rough.
Guest 3 said, don't forget when it rained rocks last year. Did it rain rocks last year?
Yeah, it did. And the explanation for that is the volcanic ash and matter that's going up into the atmosphere actually then gets caught up into those stratospheric weather patterns and then gets dumped out like, many miles, many continents away, right? Unbelievable.
Where did it rain rocks at?
Oh, man, Newfoundland, England, where else?
I missed that one, too.
No, and we're also getting reports of iron oxide dust from a lot of people right now. They're just observing in their backyards. They're not scientists, They're just like, wait a second. There's no iron around this puddle. Why do I have iron oxide dust in my puddle? And then they take a picture of it and send it to me, and I'm like, well, that's iron oxide dust for sure. Which is just iron. It's just rust, right? Badbaby. And no source of the other than just the sky and the rain. You start to go. People are starting to, their eyebrows are going up, and they're going, all these signs are tying them together pretty good. You might be right there, young man, but I'm not that young.
Well, age doesn't matter to me. You know what they say about old people? The older you get, the sweeter you are, just like a piece of fruit.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's working for me. Anyway. Going back to this, to Revelation, this is the same book, though, that has Revelation 21:12. Can I read that one really quick?
Okay.
If you don't mind. I don't mean to be a Bible thumper.
No,
I really don't.
Please. When it comes to the Bible, I have no problem. Go for it.
Well, I think that a lot of people, this is one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, and there's a lot of different faiths that believe this is going to go down in a lot of different ways, okay? This is what Christians believe, all right? And it looks a lot like what other religions believe, okay? And it sounds pretty good. So, anyway, here we go, 21. Revelation 21. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there's no longer any sea. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from heaven, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. And there we go. And to me, that is the good news. The bad news is we got an ass whooping ahead of us. The good news is I believe that we're all going to come together at the end of this, and we're all going to just be like, woo! Did you see that? I think that's what's going to happen. I really do.
Yeah, well, if I survive it, I'll sing a few verses of Celebrate Good Times.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to be like a Bible thumper or anything like that, but I get a lot of hope out of that verse. So
So one of the guests has said that power outages are happening worldwide.
Right. That's exactly correct. It's the big ones that we saw in the United States. Now, you might ask me and say, well, Steve, what do power outages have to do with Planet X or with Nemesis or whatever you're talking about? Well, the sun and in these objects, interact with each other, just like the Earth interacts with the sun and Jupiter interacts with the sun, okay? So when these things get into proximity of the sun wants to reach out and touch them, electromagnetically speaking, okay? And because the sun is unbelievably magnetic, okay? Right? And a brown dwarf would be extremely magnetic as well. So if these two stars were like sharing energy in proximity to each other, the Earth's power grid, if unprotected, would what they call be induced or inducted into the power grid. So all these electrical lines would basically be like a big antenna for the energy, and that's why these big breakers blow out. And they've got these checks and balances in these big power grids where these big fuses will blow, but it will cause power to be out for 6 hours, whatever. The question is, how big of a hit can this grid take, right? And you've got people from, Degrassi to all these different scientists and Hawkins and all these guys pleading with the government to harden our power grid, and they have been for years, Badbaby, because they know that the sun anytime could just be like, I'm pissed, and we're right in the way of it, And I think that's some of what's happening. If you guys take a look at that link that I put up into Badbaby's chat room, just go click on that. Just go look at the images in there. It is indicating that there's a lot of solar wind and lots of magnetic activity going on that's very unusual, okay? Well, that's what we think. We think that this magnetics, we're seeing the effects of this stuff, and the Earth gets in the way of it every so often. Not fun.
I reposted the link for you because people that come in late can't see it. So, because if you come in the window after it's posted, you won't see it.
Yeah, but the thing about this link that I'm showing them right now, it's right now, right this minute, on the what we call the Z-cut, which shows arrows and solar wind and everything, is showing just a whacked out wind pattern. Something is not right. This should be a smooth flow of wind over and past the Earth. It's not. Arrows are going every which way. And then you go up to the main picture, which is more the magnetic signature of the Earth, and you just see that our closed field line is getting stretched out into that segment of space for some reason. Well, I understand there being a lot of solar wind, but what would possibly pull our closed field line of the Earth out into the solar system? It would have to be another magnetic object.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, the laws of thermodynamics, man. Energy can be neither created or destroyed. I mean, this is just simple physics. And I wish that, and this is what I think's happening, Badbaby. The reason those 50-year-olds better get it is because we actually got taught science.
Yes.
I believe it. I believe it. I think there's part of it.
I can't believe they don't teach the kids science. They don't teach them history. It's like a whole new programming deal there at school. I
don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on.
Did you ever watch Mark Dice go around and ask people questions about our government, and they're like, I don't know that person. No, I never heard of that person.
Like, who's the vice president? They'll be like, who's the vice president? Somebody would say, like, Spiro Agnew. You're a little late for the 60s, baby.
We got a caller on the line. Let's take this call. Is this my cue cutie patootie.
It is. And Steve, you're awesome, brother, man. I love you, Stevie.
I love you too, man.
You're awesome. Yeah, so, Mark Dice, right? In 1776, when the Declaration of Independence was signed, what did that represent? Oh, I think that was 1984, right? When they signed that. I mean,
right.
It's just beyond absurd. It's beyond stupidity. It's beyond ridiculousness. Where has our society fallen, Steve, brother? Where's our society fallen? Look, this is the second great Roman Empire crumbling right in front of our eyes. We're watching it happen. All markets are manipulated.
And we watched the citizen warrior wave, which the Roman Empire had, where there were nobility. We call it the greatest generation in our world.
Right.
And they were heroes. I don't give a rat's ass how or why we got into that stuff. They felt like they were fighting for us, those men and women. And, you know, my hat keeps going off to them like every day. I'm taking it off right now. Anyway, but people don't understand even that short history from just that long ago anymore.
That's right.
You know? They don't even understand what happened. Like the whole thing that happened in Germany, we had it beat in our heads. They had a huge depression. Marks were worthless. They had to take, we all learned about what happened to Germany and that led them into that war. We actually were educated on that. Remember that?
I certainly do. But unfortunately, again, with the dumbing down of the educational system, which is, they use the word school. It's such an awful word. That word in and of itself is a dumbing down process because it's no longer called education. It's called schooling, right? Well, when you're schooled, you don't learn anything except regurgitated information, which has been passed down, but it's not even that anymore. It's a re-education center to make the dumb people even dumber. They don't teach you history. They don't teach you science. They don't teach you technology.
Look, I'm not trying to be insulting to people younger than 50. I'm really not. Honestly, I'm not. I'm just saying
Steve, we got that, brother. You're preaching to the choir here, man.
I'm not. Listen, guys, you guys got to realize something. We were kind of like there was a big thing about civics in the 60s, guys, when we were growing up in the 50s and 60s, and our generation. And we got the civics lesson rammed down our throats, literally, man. We knew the Constitution. You needed to know what the Bill of Rights were. You knew why they had the Bill of Rights. They taught us all that stuff. Why? Because they felt that if you weren't educated, you could not be a voter. You could not be a citizen. That was the way we were taught. Like, you need to understand how this shit works. Now, excuse my language. I'm sorry. Learn how this stuff works. And what we learned was we live in a republic, a constitutional republic. Where in the living daylights did we get that we live in a democracy? That's like the worst thing to live in. That's why. That's why.
Like living in a banana, right?
It was easy for Hitler to take over in a democracy.
Well, personally, I live in the twilight zone.
So do I.
We do.
It's okay. But here's the thing. Here's the one thing, and I think you can all agree with me on this. They taught us civics. They taught us about government, how it worked, how it functions. What's the one thing they never taught us about is how money's created and who creates the money. Right?
Right. And
they never taught us that.
Pissed you off when you figured that out. When you figured out that I was no, because I woke up. It took me 3 days to recover from it because I realized, and you really got to go the whole way when you think about this.
Absolutely.
When you learn what they did in 1913, guys, that ultimately led us into the World War I and ultimately into World War II and ultimately into every other war.
Right.
With a banking cartel that basically took the United States government hostage. We call ourselves, the right term for the United States right now is a captive state. That's
without a question. Without a question.
Yes.
I agree with
you.
And
as a captive state to debt, because we let banks make our money. And so I woke up one morning and I realized that every dollar I've ever worked for was just another dollar of debt. So every time you make a dollar, guys, do you all realize that that's debt when you make a dollar? Because that dollar is created out of nothing.
Well, just
And
like
when,
the crypto, Steve, just like the cryptocurrencies, except you know what the big difference is between the cryptos and the captivated or captive dollar that is created by the fictitious fiat money system, which is called the Federal Reserve. The only difference is they don't control it. That's the only difference, and that's why it exists in an open market, in a free market, and that's why Bitcoin is at $13.75, Ethereum is at 55 or 56 bucks, and Dashcoin is at like $71 or $72 because it is not controlled, but is solely owned, privately.
it's what
by
money
people.
was meant to be, a unit of value, right?
Exactly.
And when you learn what the government did was they sold us all into slavery.
You got it.
That's what happened. And when I finally figured that out, I couldn't get out of bed for 2 days. I was like, my whole life has been a lie.
Yeah.
A lie.
I figured that. It took me to 2006 to figure that out, Steve, and I was just like you, man. I was in shock. I was first of all, I was scared and upset and scared because my whole life just flashed before my eyes saying, where the hell am I? Who the hell am I, and what am I doing here? Did I sign up for this nonsense, right? And then you start to get angry, right? And you're like, holy smokes. What is this nonsense? Who are these monsters who are controlling our system of our lives, who dictate with all these fictitious laws that they write into existence to bring more control over us and more freedom for them? I mean, who are these monsters? And you're like, oh, and then you get mad.
Yeah, and then you look at history. Then you find out that they've been doing this since the Roman Empire.
Exactly.
Then you really freak out. Then you really flip it. Because then you're like, wait a second, the Roman Empire? Yeah, right, the Roman Empire. So the Roman Empire were experts at public relations, okay? And that's why you got to be careful what you believe in the Bible. I know that's going to steam a lot of my fundamentalist friends. You've got to hear the voice of the Spirit of God. That's what those words are not the words of God, Word of God.
And the caveat to that,
Yeshua was the Word of God. Yeshua was the Word of God.
The caveat to that is, the worst part, the caveat, and this is going to piss a lot of people off. You know why everybody's insured over the hilt and paying through the nose for insurances that they don't need, which are pushed down their throats? It was created by the Romans. It was created by the Roman Empire. They're the ones who started the insurance process to insure your money, to insure your life, to insure your goods, to insure your home, to insure the bed bugs that are in your bed that sleep with you every night. This is a total fictitious system of fraud, and everybody just went along with it sleeplessly.
Well, no,
keeping the sleep in their eyes, brother.
More than ever, though.
And then if you do insure something, the insurance company just comes out and tells you they aren't going to pay you anyways.
Right.
Well, no, that's why they have that deductible. So they're always ahead on top of you. That's why they have the deductible.
We had that big storm come through, and it damaged my roof. And they said they weren't going to pay, so then they sent their own investigator over here, their own carpenter, and he went up there and said, well, it's below your deductible, which is not true. I needed a new roof on my garage. And he said, so you're responsible for the repairs. So then I had the guy that would pick me up to fix my truck, and I was telling him about it, and he said, oh, yeah, he said, my son's roof was damaged, and they did the identical thing to him. So they do it to everybody.
Yeah, without a question.
Oh, like when I found out that, that we were never supposed to have an income tax that taxed anything but profits. That's the only thing we're able to tax. That was what they're supposed to be able to tax. And when you trade labor, like as a service to somebody else, there is no profit in that transaction. You'll notice this on your taxes, by the way. It's
Absolutely.
very difficult. It's very difficult to force the idea that I can write off my business expenses as a consultant, okay? and they make it really hard because they're like, "What's your cost of goods sold?" I don't have cost of goods sold. Or I could set my cost of goods sold at $500 an hour. How's that? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, absolutely, Steve. But here's the caveat to even further what you're saying. Why do you think everybody has a Social Security number? They're creating fictitious digits on a debt that you haven't even created yet, okay, or a capital gain they can't even market yet, okay? That number, that digit that they create, the digits on that little piece of paper, is a number of servitude on what you're going to create and what they're going to be able to collect from you in the future. That's all it is. It is a service number. You want to talk about the mark of the beast? That mark of the beast was put there, and I'm not religious in any way, Steve. I don't look at the Bible prophecies or any of that thing. I just look at this from an aspect of how we've been manipulated through our lives. That is the mark of the beast. The SS number. Isn't that funny? Called the SS number. You know what was the other word that they used the SS in? I think it was in Nazi Germany, right? The SS soldiers. It was that funny how they had their little army of SS Nazi troopers who would dictate, put out orders, and assassinate and kill anybody who went against their program. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But again, this. You go to this kind of
okay, so let me ask a question.
Sure.
After this event happens, do you think that that they're going to come up and do you think they're going to survive down in their bunkers? Number one, and number two, do you think they're going to come up and try to control whoever is left?
Yeah, that's been my theory. That's been my belief, my strongest belief all along, is that you got to look at okay, let me give you an example, and I think people will get it if I tell them this way, right? Chemtrails are horrible, and they're messed up, and I curse at them every time I look up in the sky. Trust me, guys. But what if you're the decision maker, world government, right? And you know that if you put this particulate up in the sky, that you might save 20% of the population from radiation or from 75-pound hailstones or whatever. I mean, it's kind of like a very hard decision to make. I think I would go with chemtrailing. If I could lessen the blow of what's going on to the people below, I would make every effort to do that. I guess that's what I would do. But it would only be in that most desperate situation. That's what I was trying to tell Dane Whittington the other day when I was talking to him, and he wouldn't acknowledge it. I said, Dane, they're not just going to go up there and start spraying chemicals just willy-nilly, man. You know what I mean? There's got to be a reason for it. Why are they doing it?
Well, I think it's just to manipulate people's brains. Because lithium is the main ingredient in any kind of a psychotronic drug. And, I had someone contact me about a year ago about a fountain, a drinking fountain that was opened up in one of the parks in California. And they said, Badbaby, what is lithium? I said, well, that's the main ingredient in any kind of mental drug, any
it's
kind
a whole
of
class of psychotrope. Yeah, it's a whole class of psychotropic drug. Right.
Right. And they showed me a picture of this fountain, and it was a square brick fountain, and it had these little rods coming out with a ball, and then the water was bubbling out of the ball, and it looked so refreshing. And guess what the sign said? Welcome to the new lithium drinking fountain.
Right. Now, here's an interesting thing about lithium that you might not know. Lithium is very helpful in mitigating the symptoms of radiation poisoning. Right.
But what we're missing out of that picture, Steve, is the fluoridation of all the aquifers in the United States. And what is fluoride? A byproduct of aluminum processing, which they said, oh, that's okay. We'll keep the people docile as we're fluoridating them. They'll keep them a little more stupid because that's exactly what they used in the Nazi SS camps when they were annihilating all those poor people.
Right. The fluoride was put in to make the people docile. It's a fact, Jack. It's what they did. It's a fact. It's a historical fact.
Exactly right.
It's like, so I remember I was a kid, and I can remember them starting to, there's this big debate about fluoride in the water, and they just kind of pushed it through, and I didn't think much of it because I thought fluoride's great because it makes your teeth strong. That was the propaganda, remember?
Absolutely. Clean teeth, healthy body.
Right. Your bones will be stronger.
Yeah.
What they didn't tell you is that you weren't going to be able to think. Yeah.
Oh God!
I might have been a genius if it wasn't for that damn fluoride.
Yeah, and they were all drilling holes in our teeth to put more fluoride in our mouth.
Oh yeah,
and,
and
the lead in our mouth.
They were coming to the grade schools and saying, "Everybody go down to the gym for your fluoride treatment."
Unbelievable.
That's what, on the one hand, all those shenanigans were starting up when we were kids. But like I said, it's like I can look at a NASA document and I can look at a model that they make, and I can tell you what magnetic lines of force are, north and south. I can tell you that Einstein had a lot of ideas that would happen when two very gravitationally big objects got close to each other. I learned that in high school, man. I didn't have to go to college for that.
Incredible. Yeah, exactly, college. Go back 70 years, Steve. There were places called, internships or mentorships. There was no college. You went to work for a company. You would learn actual science from the guys who were already doing it, and then they would teach you how to enhance that science because their careers were coming to an end. You're the young bull coming in, and they're going to teach you. Well, that's all gone, brother. It's all gone. That was gone 70 years ago.
Yeah, do you remember we had mentors? I remember when I got into the Air Force and I got to Germany, the first mentor that I had mentors through high school and stuff too, of course, teachers, whatever. But, that first command sergeant, man, the first time you meet, Chief Master Sergeant Sanchez, oh, my God. That guy was a power unto himself. And these guys protected us. The 19, 20, 21-year-olds, they were like, they would give us speeches on, wearing condoms. And they were like watching over us like mother hens, you know what I mean? And that doesn't happen anymore. That's what I've heard in the Air Force. That doesn't happen anymore. There's none of this taking them under your wing, and we had Vietnam vets that would tell us what to expect in combat, and you know what I mean. I had all that.
Yeah, I know. See, Steve, I want to get back to what we were talking because I didn't even get my questions, and you were starting to go off on all this, and this sets a passionate point for me as well. But okay, so we all understand, and I'm pretty sure you do. We've already shifted 2 degrees off axis. All right. Sun coming up 2 days early in Greenland. The Inuit saying the stars aren't in the right place. I mean, it's a fact. It's already happened. So we've got probably about 1,000-mile shift. Look, it is April 28th. The sun is parking itself like it's in August 28th right now. We have definitely shifted. We've seen the erratic weather patterns shifting worldwide due to the jet stream, which has gone absolutely haywire. Just watching the jet stream today. So the brown dwarf, this is my belief. You guys can take it however you want, but I want to get your opinion on this, Steve. The brown dwarf is closer than it ever has been. I think it's getting ready to make its perihelion, and this is my thought process, Steve. You can you can respond to this any way you want, but I think it's getting ready to make perihelion, and through my sources, a very intelligent, very deep sources who I've known for a long time, saying, 2017, September, October, you can basically take that to the bank, brother. This is what I'm seeing. What's your thought?
Yeah, so like I said, David Meade, right? And I bought the book, and I interviewed him. And I know Badbaby, you've interviewed David. We both love him.
He's going to be on next week.
Great. He's a great guest, and everybody should listen to David Mead. And he's not just a Planet X guy. He's also very knowledgeable on the deep state, things like that. Anyway, back to his theory, he's the most credible researcher I've ever met that ever set a date. Let's just put it that way, okay? A lot of guys set dates. A lot of guys have been wrong. To get this right, you have to know over a 36 to 3,700 year span when certain specific things are going to happen. It ain't going to happen, all right? Unless you have keys to the knowledge and you do this deep research like David's done. So do I think there's a good possibility that this could be a very interesting, fall? Yeah, because when you look at the solar system scope as well, what you see is that we've been watching this thing. A variety of researchers have been watching. We all disagree on what it is. I mean, we're all a bunch like a heckling Kens. Planet X researchers are all competitive. It's just bad right now in the Planet X researcher community. Let's put it that way. Anyway, point being is that we all have a sense that we knew where it was coming out of Leo or Sagittarius, or we had this kind of general range, and we had a lot of evidence, and it just showed that it was getting closer and closer. Well, this year the patterns are gone, right? And that's what you look for. You don't look for the pattern. You look for the loss of the pattern.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Exactly.
Right? And the pattern is gone right now. We just had a 7.2 in the Philippines today?
Yeah, 6.8 just yesterday as well.
Yeah. And these level 7, and, we know that they've taken the magnitude meter down one level, right? So in 1970, we would have called that a magnitude 8 earthquake.
Yeah, exactly.
They did that specifically because of this approaching system. They knew
I heard they're taking it down 2 points.
I've heard that rumor too. I can't say for sure. I know one for sure.
Well, I can't say that myself because I don't know anybody inside NOAA who I don't know anybody inside NOAA, so I don't know. But
so I'm going on several inside sources, and then the work of Ben Davidson from Suspicious Observers. And again, here's another researcher, right? Everybody feels like they gotta, I love Ben Davidson, Suspicious Observers. He's the bomb. I love listening to the Sun Reports. He doesn't acknowledge the Nibiru Planet X community, but I understand that. Look, I get it. He's trying to build a scientific enterprise focused on the electric universe. That's his focus, okay?
Right.
And that's fine. But if it wasn't for Ben Davidson, I wouldn't know half the stuff I know right now. So God bless Ben Davidson.
Right.
But where I was going with that is these people have been tracking this stuff for a long time, and they'll all tell you that we're in an anomalous period. If they don't, they're lying.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And what's the one agency that everybody depends on who never tells a straight answer? Well, we already know that. It's NASA, right? We get less and less and less from them.
Oh, it's even deeper than that. It's just like anything in the rabbit hole. We found out doing research, Wayne Steiger and I did research on this. Actually, we spent a couple of days researching where data comes from for all these models that we're looking at. It comes from Rockwell. Rockwell.
Yeah.
Not the
okay.
government.
That should have been a big surprise to me, right? Oh,
right.
Jesus.
No. Rockwell. It's like one of the big Fortune 50 companies of the earth, defense contractor. Yeah. Right.
Wow. And I just want to say to your partner, Wayne Steiger, he does an incredible job, Steve. All of you guys do. You really, really do. I never put myself out there on YouTube because I see what you guys go through, and being an ex-talk show host myself, and the ridicule that I receive, plus all the government retribution I received, going years back, dealing with elderly parents. I just couldn't put my parents through that again. But kudos to you guys. I just need to say that because you know what? You're just not putting up with the shit, and you're in a position not to put up with it. Excuse my language about the S, but we're just not taking it anymore. And you guys are doing an extraordinary job in bringing this information forward. I needed to say that.
Oh, well, no, thank you, but it's not just us. Right, it was like we had over the last, Badbaby and people like her and her work, they've been doing this for years and years. Art Bell.
That's what I meant. That's exactly what I meant.
We stand on their shoulders. If it wasn't for Art Bell, there would be no WSO.
Absolutely,
period.
I agree with you
because
he was
to Art Bell. In those talks that he had with Father Malachi. Remember those back in '94?
Oh God, how could you forget that? There's no way you can forget that.
Shit. I used to love listening to that show, and it was my favorite radio show for a long time. And I used to love working on Sunday nights and listening to Art Bell. That's what I did.
Oh yeah, me too. And that was when I was. That's when I was young.
Ran him out of the country.
Well, I think he kind of ran himself out of the country for multiple reasons, but the whole thing with his wife's death, Ramona, and then his son being molested. From what I understand, if that's correct, his son was being molested by a gym teacher. That was a horrible thing. Horrible. Could you imagine any parent having to go through that? I certainly can't. I've never been a parent, but God forbid if I were in some sort of, pedophile molesting SOB were to touch my child, I'd go ape, So, I think I personally, this is my belief. I'm not, no words out of his mouth. It's my belief. He just needed to get away from everything. He started a new life. Ramona died unfortunately, and then I never know. I don't know whatever happened to his son. I'm absolutely sure that he took care of his son in whatever manner he thought, to be correct for himself. But he went through a lot of crap. He went through it all, and didn't he just recently try to start his show back up? But it's like trying to recapture. It's like trying to start that fire that you ignited when you first started the show. I think is very hard to recapture, and I think my personal belief again, I think he regretted ever leaving, but there was a huge paycheck when he left, so he's well set.
Yeah, well, what he figured out was that they bought him off, and I don't think that he realized it when it happened. And and then there's this whole other wave of researchers that looked at all these different things, right, like Badbaby and others, and and the internet kind of changed the game, and this was the first year though. Like for example, when I started my WSO channel with the YouTube channel WSO,
which I followed you from the beginning, by the way.
Right, and so, but the point is that when I was at 300 subscribers, it was like an onslaught. There was nobody that was above the radar talking about Nibiru when I started. Nobody above the radar. Nobody. And it was like we were like the tip of the spear. I had no idea. And we captured that fire like you were talking about with Art Bell, and I think we're holding on to that. I'd like to get this and expand our subject matters, what we've been trying to do with GNN and other things that we're working, projects that we're working with Badbaby and everything. But point being is now there's thousands of Nibiru Planet X channels. Why? Because they saw somebody go viral, and then another Nibiru Planet X channel went viral right on my heels, and so now we've got two. But see, we're only talking to maybe 100,000 people, you guys.
Steve, can I just interject something really quick? You're right that there are many, many Planet X Nibiru channels out there. But I need to say this to all those channels. They are stealing your work. Steve, they are stealing your work, your real work. They are stealing all the real researchers' work. All they're doing is cutting and pasting, putting videos together to monetize it. Now, I've said this before, Badbaby, I think I might have said it on your show. I said they are monetizing their video. Yeah, okay, they're pushing the information forward. That's fine. But they have no right to monetize the work, the real work behind the scenes, and then simply taking that work, chopping the video up, distorting the voices, okay, and putting up his own work. It is fraud. It's fraudulent. It's a lie. I'm sorry, but it's plain out thievery, and it disgusts me. And I cut those videos off immediately the moment I see that they didn't do any research, they didn't do any work, they did absolutely nothing except cut and paste 3 or 4 videos together to make it their own. And again, Google and YouTube, and I'm sorry I'm passionate about this because it gets me to the bone. It gets me to the bone. These monsters who are trying to suppress this information are allowing these little hypocrites to do this while they're demonetizing everybody else's freaking videos who are trying to make a living off their hard work, when these little trolls, they're trolls, are cutting and pasting, putting this information together off everybody else's back, and they're making the money. And I'm sorry, Steve, I digress, but that just gets me so upset. I'm sorry, Badbaby.
It's okay.
No.
Just don't let your blood pressure go up over it.
It's popping. It's popping.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing of it is that, again, people see this as a money-making opportunity. I've been accused of it many times. You got to watch the first video that I made and go through every single video. And I know that's 500 some videos now. I don't expect you to really do that. But the point being is, if you just watch the journey that we've been on together, right, you would know that none of this is for money. It was like, I had a great job when this started out, Badbaby, a really good job. And I'm ostracized from that job, from that field now, because of this research. I can't get a job there anymore. I'm labeled as crazy. So
I know. That's what happens when they target you. They totally, and even a lot of targets, when they do find a job, it'll be a menial job, and then they'll be bullied and harassed at that job. So, you're talking to someone who's walked that path, my dear.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just going to simply say, when I started radio back in 2009, and I was talking about all this stuff in 2009, and I absolutely figured out what happened because I had a thriving business. Now, when 2008, 2009, I started the radio show, but as everything fell apart, and I started doing my radio show when I had woken up in 2006, right? And I just started pounding the banks because I started off with, I think, what everybody usually starts off with, the economic corruption, the lies, the total heresy of the system that we live under. Well, you know who I was banking with at the time, and you know who I had a $150,000 loan, a fictitious digital loan, which they so gladly gave me based on nothing, was Chase. You know what? When my contract came up to renew my loan at a lower interest rate, you know what they told me? Oh, I'm sorry, we can't renew your loan. I said, why not? They said, because we can't. I said, what's the reason? Because we can't. I said, I want to speak to your manager. Manager comes online and says, yeah, we can't. It says, why? I need an explanation. It says, because it comes from higher up. No, we can't renew your loan. There it was, plain in my face. The moment you go against the system, they shut you down.
When you got a CD, you go and buy a CD, and you're supposed to get 3.5% interest. Now, this happened to me, and it was like I think it was a 6 or 7 year CD, and after 3 years, they came in and said, well, guess what? We're not giving you 3.5% anymore. We're going to give you 1%. But you signed a contract with me giving me 3.5% for 7 years. But why can't you fulfill that contract? Oh, well, because we sold your CD to another bank, and they're only going to give you 1%.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And Steve, that I was just relating my story, and Badbaby's just related hers to exactly what you're going through.
Mine is the exact same
on
thing.
A personal level.
No, it really started. The attacks on me started back in, I want to say 2008, 2009, and I was just curious about stuff, guys. I wasn't even really doing anything, just looking up this, looking up that, All of a sudden, I'm like getting harassed.
Curious minds want to know, Steve.
Anyway, I was figuring out that there was it was kind of a regional, company thing, and I figured out large sums of money. Oh God, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to get double killed by them too. But let's just put it this way: I uncovered and did not know what I was talking about when I did it. But it's basically the whole what do we call it? The Mormons, the Mormon mafia is what I call it, and it's an unbelievable machine. And anybody who tries to write a book or do anything about it, just go look up what happens to them.
No worse than the Italian mafia, Steve. I'm Italian, and I've had to live with that stigma my whole life. With all the nonsense about the mafia.
No, because some of the nicest Christians in the world, trust me, are LDS people, man. They really believe what their Bibles and their stuff say. They really do try to be. I mean, their families are giving, generous. It's a generous church. I'm not saying that, but there's a kind of, just like everything, right? There's a dark underbelly to everything. Just like in the '60s, we had this good government, JFK, Bobby, Kennedy, blah blah blah. We had this dark underbelly of Johnson and the CIA and all these different bad players. It's the same thing with any big organizations like LDS. So I'm not calling it all bad, but when you're in the middle of it and you're going to touch their money, because I had a claim, a commission claim on a big transaction, they change really quick.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of those things where you're betting a lot on these different things you're doing. When I was doing high-tech sales like that. And anyway, I'm off on my own story. 2008 wiped me out. Same story exactly. Tried to renegotiate with the bank. I mean, I spent days on the phone with these guys. They wanted to charge me like 10, 11% interest.
That's what they were trying to do to me too, Steve. Same thing.
They were getting the money for free.
That's right.
From the Fed was just 0.25% interest rate.
That's right.
Why couldn't they give
free money to the banks? Not for us.
The American dream is what they're doing.
No, they wanted to take away all the equity that we built in our houses and properties, and then we.
That's right. It's estate stealing. It's the same thing they're doing to the widows. As soon as
legalized theft.
And they come in like vultures and they gang stalk you and try to take everything you have because they want to make it so that when you die, our generation dies, there's nothing left for the children to inherit.
That's right. There's not going to be an independence anymore, and you're going to be completely dependent on the system.
Most people don't have $500 to put together right now. This is probably about 75% of the American population don't have.
No, the number is 40% of Americans cannot come up with $500.
You're right. I'm sorry. Not 70, 40%. It's 70% that most people don't have basically $10,000.
The same number of people
up.
Can't get a loan. They can't get a microloan. They can't get a credit card.
That's right.
They can't they don't even have access to banks anymore. The people that got wiped out in 2009, you can't get access to a bank.
You can't get nothing.
If I walked into Wells Fargo right now, I would get laughed out the front door.
I couldn't walk into Wells Fargo right now because, Steve, I don't have two nickels to rub together.
Well, that's what they've done to our generation. They're wiping our wealth out, and that's what they did, and that's why we're screwed. But
we're not screwed because you know why? The great equalizer is upon us right now. And this
when the planet comes through and the grid goes down, and no one can go to the bank, what happens then? The banks don't have them. I mean, they don't have any money.
They never had any money. They're all dysfunctional. They have no credit. They have nothing. They're all illiquid. They don't have any cash. That's the thing. They're all insolvent.
The people think the money's there. Let's just put it that way. The people are going to go to the bank and they're going to say, well, you better find some way to get my money out of the bank.
Yeah, because of that.
What happened? Wait, let's go back to our history lesson. What happened in the 30s when the banks had control? They forced a huge depression so they could take their winnings. And what did they take? They took assets, baby. They went in there and they bought assets for 1 cent on the dollar.
And they went into people's safety deposit boxes and took all their jewels or whatever.
Money,
they had
gold. All gold was confiscated. Guys, they don't
now they have wealth. Don't forget, guys. Don't forget now, everybody has in that little bank. They feel so that Social Security, that just heartwarming little sign that says FDIC insured. The FDIC has no money. It's broke. It has nothing. It was pillaged a long time ago. No one is going to get anything. And by the way, when you deposit money into your bank, the bank owns your money. It's in the paperwork.
That's why they don't want cash anymore, guys. They don't want cash because they don't want us to own money. They want the money to be in a digital form so that they have control over it and over you.
So they can tell exactly what you're doing with it. Guess exactly. Wormwood system will make everyone equally poor.
So here's what I think is going to happen, right? No, what I think is going to happen is this thing's going to kick our ass, and it will be the perfect opportunity for them to say it's time for us to implement this fully. That's what I think.
I think you have a good point. I think you have a really good point. But will they
Why does
achieve
Revelation
that?
12 say that there has to be a place of refuge for the woman? Because let me tell you right now, if the woman's the church, I'm with it. I'm going wherever she goes.
Well, I'm going wherever she goes, too, because she's a woman and I'm a man and I need a woman. So there's no question about it.
But Dean, though, be like the caveman dragging the woman by her hair in a club. Gotta find a woman. Gotta find a woman.
No, Badbaby. There's some of us that were. No, come on, man. Give me some credit.
No, she's just saying that. She's just
I'm
saying
joking.
That.
But I do think that this thing is on our doorstep, and the thing that I know this is whacked as heck. I know I shouldn't believe things like this, okay, but I do. And that is the work of that major, what's his face? The guys that did the remote viewing stuff with the government.
Ed Dames.
Ed Dames. Yeah, it's almost like the playbook is unfolding that he showed in the remote viewing. Is anybody paying attention to that? That it is almost his playbook?
Yeah, Steve, you and I are on the same page,
He quit doing interviews, Ed Dames did.
He didn't even quit doing.
The last interview he did was with Coast to Coast, and I just happened to be on listening that night, and he said that was going to be his last interview, and George Norrie asked him why, and he said, because we only have a year or so left, and I'm going to spend that time with my family.
That's exactly right, Badbaby. That's exactly what he said. I listened to the same thing, and he has not been on with anybody else. He's prepping, and has anybody been following Courtney Brown? Because it follows in line and in sync everything that Ed Dames has been saying. Now, Courtney has a little different take on things, but then Courtney gets, he is a professor in mathematics, so he's a little more, what's the word? He's a little more tunnel visioned in how he's doing it. He's not paying attention to the broader scope of what's happening, and what's happening right now, the whole thing.
What did Ed Dames say? He said that there would be huge wars going on, and then they would just look up and see the planet, and they'd all lay their guns down and go home because they knew there was no sense in fighting over anything anymore. The end was too close.
That's
and what are we on the brink of right now?
Right. No, you're absolutely right.
Again, and then he makes a big deal about Korea, like using a nuclear weapon, and this. And the other thing was that and I thought the shuttle program was over with, you guys. I thought we didn't have shuttles anymore. So we're trying to crank up this GNN News network, and what do we come across but a story about a little mini drone shuttle that the military had to pull down out of space.
XB-17.
XP-17.
Or XB-17 or 52. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's exactly right, Steve.
I hadn't seen a spacecraft like that, and this was only a couple months ago, and it came down.
That's right.
And it was up there for a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, wait a second. He talked about that, and he talked about Korea, and he said then that's when the kill shot would come. And,
that's right.
And then I look at that damn near-Earth object report every day religiously because that's my job now. My job is to keep everybody current and informed on what's important about what's going on right now. Because I looked at, like, for example, this weekend, and I knew nothing was going to happen this weekend because we came back around, and one of these electromagnetic lines is going to leave us alone again until a little bit, like another couple days. So I was just like, I put a video together and just said, look, go out in nature and just enjoy nature today. You know, enjoy everything you can enjoy right now because it's going to get wicked, man. I really do believe it's going to be tough to get through this.
Well, let me tell you something I've been checking out for the last few days. And it's strange because it was like I was led to this, and all three sources said the same thing. Now, when I interviewed Ann Eller, she told me that it would be really close when you notice that Japan falls into the sea. Also, what's her name? The one that talks to the aliens. What's her name?
Oh, Nancy Lieder. Nancy Lieder.
She says that you'll know by the signs, and that they tell us that Japan will be falling into the sea right before the passing of the planet. Well, I did some research a while back, and Japan is falling into the sea because of Fukushima. And also the last earthquake cracked the island in half. Well, I decided to go and check out what Edgar Casey has been saying. And guess what Edgar Casey predicted for 2017? He predicted that Japan falls into the sea in the year of 2017, and the island, part of the island of Japan, shows up on the coast off of California.
Yeah. And as of right now, fireball events are 1,516 and climbing. It'll probably peak last year's, which was somewhere around 5,300. So you tell me where we're heading. It's obvious. It's evident. Steve Olson and Wayne Steiger and Jeff P. and Dill Martin and everybody else out there presenting the truth who have put themselves on the line to tell you guys the reality, well, you better effing wake up because this is where we're at. And you know what? There's nothing to fear, in my eyes anyway, because you know what? This is part of the experience of the process of
here's the thought
to learn.
No, here's the thought process, WSO. I'm like, should I even be doing this? I get up to like 10,000 subscribers. I'm like, wait, man, the people are listening to this, okay? And I got scared. I had to sit back, and it was like, I pray, okay? I meditate and I pray. I'm a Zen Christian, and if you don't like it, I don't care.
I love it.
That's about it.
I love it.
So I meditate, and I thought about it deeply, right? And then the question came to me I call him the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit comes to me and says, Steve, he goes, if all this is going on and you were not like being given the information and you knew somebody could have given you the information because they knew and you didn't know and you could have given them the information, how would you feel about that person when this shit started to hit the fan? I said, I'd be hating on that guy. He goes, then he says, get to work. Because people need to know. Because when you look up and see this, I don't want people falling to their knees. I want them to go into action. I don't want them to be catatonic. I want them to say, we knew this was coming. You know, we saw it coming. We had the information. We hung together, you know, and we're as prepared as we possibly can be. And it should be, when this starts to hit the fan, it shouldn't be a time to go catatonic. It should be time for the action plan to go into effect.
What's
your action plan?
Yeah.
What's your action plan? Have one. You got to have one, man. See, this is what the military taught me. They would train you and train you and train you and train you. Same thing in martial arts, train you and train. You know, when you do the movements in martial arts and you have to do that to just get a yellow belt or a red belt, you know, you're doing this stuff and you're just like, what the heck am I doing this for? Okay? Because they're preparing you they prepare movements that can help you block a kick. They prepare movements that can block a knife and turn it back on the attacker. But they're not telling you that in the beginning, right? And right now, everything looks peachy keen, right? And we have an opportunity right now to prepare those movements. Where are we going to go? Where are we going to meet? Who are we going to be with? How are we going to have water? How are we going to have access to food? What's going to be the plan? How are we going to make sure that the families and all these people have medication? You know, you got to start thinking through all these different things. Now, preppers have been doing this for a long time. I'm not advocating for everybody to go off the deep end. I'm just saying practical things, 90-day supply of medication, 3-month supply of food and water, food, water, medication, might as well say that. Ability to make light and energy without the grid. Solar panel, generator, I don't know, I don't care, okay? And to make sure that everybody knows where to go if an event happens, because when communications go down, you're not going to be able to pick up your cell phone and go, Bobby, meet me at the store. It's not going to happen. Everybody needs to know where to go. That kind of thing.
That's true. You know what my plan is? Make a mad dash to the kitchen, get the blender going, and make as many Bahama Mamas as I can.
Well, you know what? I've become very self-sufficient in doing a lot of things on my own. One of the things I've learned to do is make my own wine. I've been, you know, for my family, we're Italian, we're wine drinkers, and you know what? If you know how to do things in a community, that's just for an example, though. If you know how to do things in a community, you're going to be welcome because you can contribute to the community.
My plan is to have the best weed in the community.
I'm in agreement with you.
I'm in agreement with you. A good point. Only ham radios will be in communication, and you know, right. I want to let everybody know that if you go to Jim Baker's website, they are selling a solar-powered radio. You can also put batteries in it, but it's solar-powered, and it will pick up ham radio, shortwave, and regular AM and FM. So there's like 4 different channels on that radio, and it's only $65.
Yep, the first thing you should get is a radio like that one, Badbaby. That's a great point. You don't have to be a ham radio operator to use ham radio. You can get a receiver. And this is another thing that us old-timers used to have. We used to be able to do that. They always had 4. Every radio you bought had 4 channels. Remember that? And you could listen to broadband.
Now, they are set up down there at Morningside where they're going to be broadcasting if the grid goes down because they have these huge generators that they installed. So you will be able to tune into them and find out what's going on.
But here's the other part of it. If the power grid goes down, which I do think is going to go down, some of the radio stations are, you know, functional like hospitals where they have generators, so they'll still be able to put out information on what's going on, which you should also have as a hand crank radio because it doesn't need any batteries. You crank that magneto.
You have a hand crank on it too, I think.
Okay, good, because that's important because, you know, the hand crank will last a half hour, and you can pick up information, you know, through AM, through all the AM bands, and maybe some of the FM bands, God knows if they'll still be up or not, but you should still be able to get information when the poop hits the fan.
So these are just practical things.
That's going to be the main thing is communication to find out what's going on.
Right. That's what John Moore keeps saying. You know, if you listen to John Moore, and this is a guy that has seen the, you know, proverbial X hit the fan. You know what I mean? And
he said it specifically. I think he says they all look like somebody pissed in their Cheerios when they walked out of that meeting.
Yeah.
Because I remember him directly saying that to me when I interviewed him. It looked like somebody pissed in their Cheerios. Now that's a drastic statement coming from a military guy and a security expert who was in the military and then was in Vietnam. I take things like that extremely serious because it's these people aren't playing around when they tell you these things. It is in your face reality.
He sent me his DVD because I was curious of where the landmass was going to be in Michigan. And from the map he showed me in the DVD, there's a good chance that my house is going to be right on, because there's just going to be a strip of land that goes across Michigan diagonally. And you can't tell exactly, where it is, but the way it looks, my house is going to be on the tip of the island. I hope so.
And also, don't forget this. I mean, Steve, I don't know if you've ever heard me in my diatribe about my friends upstairs, meaning the experiences I've had with my extraterrestrial friends. They told me a long time ago when I was doing my show, they said, look, things are going to happen. They said, yeah, things are going to shift. Things are going to change. They didn't say, there's going to be a 180-degree pole shift, because if that were the reality, everybody would be dead. There would be nobody left alive. It wouldn't be possible. But they said there's going to be a shift. Yes, there will be a lot of destruction, but they also said we are going to be here to help. They told me this directly. They said, when it happens, we will be here to help. Now, specific words they used, and this is a biblical term, so it should coincide with you, and I think you probably have the same idea here, is that they said, we will pick the wheat from the chaff, meaning that the people, I think, is what they meant, and this is my own thought process, and I could be wrong, but my own thought process is that the people who have been out there talking and trying to wake other people up will get the help they need to gather all the people who have been decimated, who have been shocked into awareness, and are going to need help needing the help to rebuild the communities, that they're going to be here to help us specifically to regather our groups, our tribes, I guess at that point, our communities, to rebuild our world. How do you take that, brother?
Well, no, I completely agree. And, this is the thing that you start happening, and I was talking about this with Rex Bear the other day. It's like when I first woke up, Rex was actually, he and I were going to do a show together, and I was like buying beans and rice or something, and he had to talk me off the perch and stuff. So funny stories like that. But your point is well taken. I used to be very skeptical of aliens, okay? And I had like kind of what would be called a healthy fundamental Christian attitude towards it, which is they're all demons, okay? You agree?
Right. Yep.
That has changed radically in the last 10 years. And I've always been interested in UFOs and all that stuff. Always been interested in it. But I always had this, thing where I felt like, it was really basically any Christian teaching was going to basically say those are the fallen ones, right? Well, then I started to find out that there were other, wait a second, could this be PR, right? Could this just be bad PR? For example, the God that I've gotten to know, the spirit I've gotten to know, would never slaughter a village of giants. I don't care if they've got the wrong genes or not. Okay?
Yeah,
Something
absolutely.
was horribly wrong, man. I don't care. My God does not blame the children for the parents' sins. Just doesn't do it. Okay? Now, you might say I'm committing heresy when I say this. I said, you can call me anything you want to. I said, any God that requires blood sacrifice is no God of mine.
Bravo, Steve. Bravo.
So now when you start to open your mind that way, then the aliens will start talking to you. And I know, right? Crazy, right?
No, not crazy. Not crazy at all. From my perspective, I mean, my euphoric experience and what I went through and wanting to know, and Steve, really, it comes, I mean, when you go through this experience like I did, I wanted to know, man, and I was PO'd. because they said, look, if I told you everything that you experienced, do you think you'd really want to spend one more second on this third-dimensional plane that
no,
you're
man,
living
we'd kill
on?
ourselves. We'd slit our own throat. I mean, we'd be like, done,
exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
But here's the thing that, you know, when I say aliens, okay, I'm talking about, and this is maybe what the Bible talks about, the people that stayed with good, the 2/3 of heaven, all those stories. I believe that those are alien races, okay? I believe those are federations, planets, galactic empires that stuck with the Holy Spirit, okay? And so that's just me, all right? And when you start to hear them, what they say is, here's how you can tell that you're dealing with a lie. I said, how's that? It's like, if war, killing, hurting, torturing any sentient being is part of their philosophy, you can be damn sure you're not talking about God.
Damn right. That's all
And
I
that
got to say.
cleared it up for me.
Right.
It's like, once I saw that, I was like, oh, I don't have to buy into this whole, you know, God ordered everybody to be, you know, soaked in blood and everything. No, I don't have to buy that. I don't have to buy that for a second. That is a mind blank.
I got to tell you, man, you are, how do I put this? You are an open mind which is willing to accept the fundamental idea that the universe exists for everyone and not just one thing. As you know, because,
here's the other thing that the aliens tell you. When you start talking to the aliens, here's the other thing they tell you. So there can be no love. You can't have love and war at the same time. There is no, that is like not compatible. Matter and antimatter, not even possible. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
The second thing they tell me is it's almost over for this planet. We're done. One way or another, we're done. They aren't going to tolerate this anymore. Really, they're not.
Well, and one other thing they did mention is that even if they tried to commit nuclear annihilation on this planet just to keep the system of these oligarchs in power, it's not going to happen. They will. They told me verbatim.
No, because if they do it, they know if
nuclear
they do it to
weapon
them,
will.
No.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
they know that if they do it to someone else, they're doing it to themselves. They're aware enough to know that you can never do something to somebody else. You're always doing it to yourself. That is the truth.
Exactly. Oh man, I can't believe how much we're on the same page, and I'm like so far out of the whole Bible thing where you're, you know, so much into it. But there's so much commonality.
Man, people need to tie these things together. It's like that movie, movie The Shack, right? That was the most biblical movie I've ever seen, and I have Christians that are swearing to God that I'm going to go straight to hell for saying that. I'm like, well, go see The Shack. And I said, if you can't relate to that God, then you can't relate to me. How's that? I'll put my cards on the table right now. You want to play poker with me? My God is love, and he's going to win.
I absolutely agree with you. Incredible.
And it's not, when I say he, it's not simple as like this individual. There are literally billions of other races and beings that know this stuff, okay? We're babies.
Infants in the womb.
Well, I think that's why we're having so many UFO sightings. I mean, if you look on Facebook and on YouTube, people are they're getting video. You know, everybody's got an iPhone. You know, they're just videoing these UFOs everywhere, and
right.
I think that they are here, and that, you know, they're here to observe what's going to happen. I think Dolores Cannon did have it right. She said that they're coming from galaxies everywhere because this is a lifetime event, and it's like the big, you know, happening. But they aren't allowed to interfere, but they are all coming to watch, and that I agree. I agree that some of them might be bad, some of them might be good, but I do agree that they will come in and try to assist afterwards.
Hey, you know what, Badbaby, Steve? It's like the three of us saying, hey, let's go to the drive-in. There's a great show playing. Let's get in the car and go check it out. And but except being a movie, you know, where it's all put together and shot, it's a live event, and we get to go watch it. I think it's exactly the same thing.
It's a video where I think the guy's name is Jose Mendez, where he's going to a nightclub to take pictures of a band for his friends, and as he was coming home, he saw two aliens on the side of the road.
Yeah, Amaro Rivera, and then he was in South America.
Rivera. And then they took him up to the ship. The next thing he knew, he was in the ship, and there were other people in there, and everyone was standing in a line like, what are we doing here? And then this man come in with a black suit on. He kind of looked like he was human, but not exactly. He had different colored skin, and his hair was really dark. And he put his hand over something, and the screen lit up, and he showed them that we were going to be hit by a big asteroid, and it was going to cause a great tsunami. He showed them that.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And so let's go back to this. Okay, so there are aliens or angels or whatever you want to talk about. They don't fight war. That's not what they do, okay? They can't intervene. Free will is important to them. So they can't intervene, and especially they can't intervene in war. So then you say, well, then who are these aliens that we keep talking about all the time that are working with the U.S. government or with the Nazi government or whatever? Guys, that's the bad ones. There are bad aliens. They are trying to give us weaponry. They are trying to destroy time waves and all kinds of nefarious stuff. And here's what the good guys tell me about that. They say they can't even see that they're causing their own destruction.
That's right.
This is what the wise ones of our universe say, guys. Okay?
Exactly
I didn't come up with this crap, all right? I had to go through Bible school. I had to learn, I had to go through so many beatings, theologically speaking, over the last 5 years. And I've come up with the bottom line is these reptilians, these Nordics, these races that are aiding us in weapons development, they're not on the good list right now. Let's just put it that way.
Well, it's the same thing Phil Snyder said. They're the ones that are in the underground bases and that are experimenting on people that are disappearing. And he said that their plan is to take over our planet.
That's it. And then you can revert that back to the what's his name? It's slipping my mind right now. But he is a hypnotherapist, but a psychologist. What's his name? Who has been doing all these regressive hypnotherapies for quite a while. He took over for Bud Hopkins, basically. He worked with Bud Hopkins, and basically the idea is to get these aliens or these hybrid aliens who have been, basically been implanted in the womb of many women across the planet and then taken out and then being brought up on the ships who are supposedly, going to be or are integrating in our society. And, of course, they still have the manipulative control of mind control so they can blank us out anytime they want, but making these people help them integrate these hybrids into our society. Basic things like, how to go shopping and for food, and placing furniture in a home, and how to use a toilet facility, and so on and so forth. Just basic ideas. So, is there an integration process taking place as well as to this looming event that is taking place because they are going to integrate in our society with us? And I'm
David Jacob.
David Jacob, thank you so much, BB. The idea is, are they going to integrate into...
Thank Margot. She typed it in the chat.
Thank you, Margot. Thank you, honey. The idea is that they're going to integrate in our society after this whole thing takes place. I don't know, but it sure as hell seems that way.
Yeah, well, that's what they want to do. But see, here's the thing that I'm starting to come to realize, right? God, you guys are making me spill my spiritual guts right now.
Sorry.
So all the universe is in. You got to know this, man. Is frequency. It is. It all is.
Absolutely.
And
I don't disagree.
I'm a scientist. Anybody who's an honest scientist knows that we have an electromagnetic spectrum. We can only see a teeny bit of it. Blah blah blah. Right? Okay.
Without a question.
So don't you think that the good guys might have a couple well-placed avatars too? Do you ever think of that? Do you ever think that they might be here too?
But here's my thought on but Steve, here's my thought on that. I think we are the well-placed avatars here. I think it's
That's
us.
what I think too. I think it is us.
I think it's us.
I do too. I honestly do too. And that flows with all the theories of basically Buddhism and all these different ideas, is that we have a purpose and a destiny here, and your question is to find it. And I know that's the oldest thing in the world, but it's true. It's freaking true. And you've got to learn that if you're on this world in this very critical point in time, there is a damn good reason you're here. And if you're not with the bad guys, you're with the good guys. Okay? And the good guys are going to win. And here's where I was going with that frequency thing is, love is so powerful. Peace is so powerful. Okay? You can literally wage love. You can literally wage peace like a weapon. Okay? When you do that, when you tune into those frequencies and you express those frequencies through the human experience, it actually will change genetic code. It will heal it. It will heal it. And when you when you have a broken being coming into the presence of a whole light being like me or you or Badbaby, what happens is they can't stand it. It's painful. Because we're actually, if they stay in our presence long enough, they will be changed. That's how we fight wars. We don't kill, we heal. That's how we win.
We kill them with love, baby.
Well,
okay, guys, I just want to let everybody in the chat room know that we will take calls tonight. So if you want to call in, we've got, we got 15 minutes, but I'll let it go over if we take calls.
Yeah. Let it go over.
Yeah. Those are the beings that are helping us, and they're never going to shoot a gun. They're never going to fire a laser. They can't. It's against their code. It's like, I can't think of anything, terrible enough. These guys can't do it. That's how they win. They heal. They heal.
But also, Steve, on the other side of it, with this breakaway civilization, which was created back in from the inception of, getting the crafts, from the down crafts in 1947 and creating this breakaway technology and civilization, which is a minuscule amount of people, they are also not allowed to go outside of, basically our solar system. Because they are being told, hey, you folks who have stolen the technology and basically kept it away from your own population, your beings, your brothers and sisters, are now in a position where either everything is going to be exposed, which we're going to do or you're going to do at one point or another, or you're going to find yourselves exactly where you were prior to this technology. Now, Stephen Greer just put out his new film, Unacknowledged, which premiered, I think, on the 25th, which exposes all of this. And here's the crazy thing, a lot of Hollywood celebrities showed up for this premiere. So it's getting a lot of traction. So one way or another, this technology is going to be brought out for everybody, which we will hopefully, and I use that word loosely, hopefully, be brought out where we can end the use of oil and gas.
Well, okay, let me give you a great example.
All the old technology, Steve.
Let me give you a great example. And a lot of people, they call us crazy. The sun But I have all the data. See, the problem is that they're never going to look at the data. They're never going to look at my data. They're never going to look at my findings and critique the findings. They try to attack your character. They try to attack your life choices and stuff. We all make bad ones. Trust me, I make my share. Holy God, do I make my bad.
I made a few myself, brother.
So, but back on topic again. So we know physics, from a physics perspective, that our sun is weak.
Right.
Very weak. Okay? It might not be generating the same level of white light that we're used to seeing from it. So we figured out, well, the way that they're compensating for that is they've deployed an artificial lighting system in our sky. And I'm agreeing with you on that, by the way. Yeah. And I have a stack of data, technical papers, patents. I mean, there's other artists, creators that out there that have been reporting on it. You know, one of the things I really hate is when somebody says, I was the first one to think of this. Shut up. You know what? I don't care if you're the first person to think of this. We need to pull our resources together as a community. Anyway, so I could win a court battle, no problem. If I had an honest judge and an honest jury, I could prove that we have a lighting system. All right, just assume I'm correct on that. How are they powering this thing? Do you know how they're powering it? They're powering it using Tesla technology. They're inducing the voltage from our ionosphere. They're just pulling it right out of the mag field, man.
Which is Tesla's technology, absolutely.
That's Tesla's technology.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying, guys, is we could have been doing this since like 1906. We could have been having free energy since 1906, and that's a crime.
Absolutely.
That is criminal. That's manslaughter. People that would have gotten warmth did not get warmth. People that would have had light did not get light. Do you see how criminal this stuff is, guys?
100%, Steve. 100%. And it breaks my heart. It totally breaks my heart.
It's right in your sky. Anytime you see a big red halo around the sun, you guys, you look at that sun and you take pictures and you tell me that is an artificial lit thing. And you can see it all the time. And lots of proof.
Now, we've got another big coronal hole in the sun that's going to be heading this, the EMP is going to be heading this way, aren't we, Steve?
Yeah, and it's going to happen every week. So we're to the point now where I've got 3 big coronal holes that are basically tracking with what we think is 3 brown dwarfs.
And I think you're absolutely right, Steve. It's not a binary; it's a trinary. And this is what the of course the fake fictitious scientists always fail to tell us, that most systems are binary or trinary. Very rarely is there a single sun that operates within the solar system. So we've been lied to our whole lives once again, and we're just having to deal with it.
We were in astronomy class, look, in the 60s. We all loved space. Remember that when we were kids?
Oh, God, I loved it.
I never once heard my professors or my teachers ever say once that there are binary stars. Not one time.
Never.
Why were they hiding that from us? Why are they hiding Sumerian text from us? You should go to Rex Baird's program on Leak Project. He's been breaking down the Sumerian texts. And, guys, there's a story here that we have never heard. Here's the story that I got. This is what I got from my alien friends. Again, ready? They told me that we've been enslaved here for 300,000 years.
I'm going to have to ditto that, because that's exactly what I got.
Is that what you got from your contacts as well? Okay.
Yeah, but they also told me it's our choice to be slaves or not to be slaves. They gave us that choice. But here's the thing, right, Steve? They said, it's up to you. And this is what they always tell me anyway. It's up to you. It's up to you.
But do you see why they can't intervene? Because as soon as they intervene, they're participating in a war, and they can't participate in a war.
And they cannot. Period.
Right.
Absolutely correct.
So I wasn't very far off with my Lionel slave song, then, huh?
Not at all. Not at all.
That's not to say that we're not in a war. So here's what happened to me personally, guys. So I'm doing this NIBR research, right? And what happened was I learned about sovereignty along the way. And when I learned how sovereign a human being really is, I claimed it. I said, I'm claiming that. That's mine. I'm a sovereign being in this universe. Nobody can tell me where or when I can travel, and nobody can hold me. Nobody can unjustly put me into a court, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole bunch of privileges in this universe that comes with you realizing that you're a sovereign being.
Right.
What does every religion on this earth teach you? That you are a fucking piece of shit, that you are a slave, that you are a scumbag, that you're nothing but a dirty rag. Really? Really?
Oh, Steve, if you don't follow their indoctrination, you are going to burn in hell.
I'm a sovereign light being of the universe. I don't know how many times I've been here. Look, dude, I'm a light being. You can't hold me down. I'm sovereign. And as soon as I realized that, my life blew up like a bomb.
That's right.
Everything blew up.
And their control over you. And
everybody that was trying to control me could not control me anymore.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah, I feel empowered just listening to you saying this, because knowing that one more person understands that they have the power.
Jesus didn't call us his slaves.
Right.
Jesus didn't call us his slaves. He called us his brothers.
That's right. That's exactly right.
We're the same as him. We are the same as Jesus.
100%.
And if you don't believe me, go look at your Bible. That's what he says.
Steve, I don't have to, because I know just being empowered by the words that you're speaking and that what we're talking about.
Buddha did the same thing.
That's right.
Said the same thing. Gandhi said the same thing. Sovereignty.
That's exactly right. They all
India won its independence not because of bullets and guns. It was because a man learned about sovereignty and he learned about love and he applied it. And that's what changed India.
And no bullet was fired, by the way. Not a one.
And he would get these revelations like, I'm going to go make salt. And everybody would be like, what? It's like, I'm going to go make salt. And he'd start making salt. And everybody was like, and what was he doing? He said, the British can tax their salt. I'm going to make my own.
That's right. That's exactly. You know how many times I watched that movie throughout my lifetime till now? Probably 20 times. And it's a long film. But it's so deep. And the meaning behind the actions of what Gandhi was creating was incredible.
Here's the secret, and here's the secret sauce. And this is why Jesus didn't fight, you guys. Why didn't he fight? You ever think of that? The secret sauce is the truly enlightened understand there is no such thing as love and war coexisting. They cannot and will not coexist.
It's two opposite forces pushing against each other.
Right. You can't have them in the same party.
Nope.
And love's weapon is peace.
That's right.
Wait, peace, baby. People can't deal with that. Oh, back in the 60s, I just read this story. You guys will love this. So back in the 60s, late 60s, 68 or 69, they were going to circle these people that were learning to meditate and that were learning about what we're talking about. They got around, they were going to circle the Pentagon. And they had all this plan going. They were going to circle the Pentagon, and they were going to pray for love, and they were going to have good intentions, and they were going to just, like, raise the vibration around the Pentagon, right? Yeah. Those CIA agents tore that operation up before it ever got off the ground. They made it so they couldn't make it to Washington. They did everything they could to stop it. Why do you think they're so afraid of this?
Oh, I know why they're afraid of it. I know exactly why they're afraid of it, because they want to maintain the system of control. I mean, it's more than evident. I mean, it's been nonstop, Steve, since then till now. It's just gotten worse. It's more of a generational control through the forces of technology that they've been. Why do you think everybody has an iPhone? Why do you think everybody has their head buried in an iPhone, completely clueless to what's going on? A system and manipulation control construct in order to keep the people asleep even more. You know, last time, I think I said this with you, Badbaby, last time I was on with you, I said we've reached maximum, capacity for people of awareness. I think we really reached that. Most of us are preaching to each other. Now, that's not a bad thing because we're just simply reinforcing what we know. Here's the thing. Steve, you'll agree with me on this, once the blank hits the fan and all this falls apart, all these poor lost souls who are going to have no idea what's happened, okay? They're going to have no idea what's happened. We will be there to help them, not to admonish them for their irresponsible and selfish behavior, but to simply make them realize that what they were under a system of control, and now they've woken up, and now we're going to be here to help them to reclaim their sovereignty, as you said earlier, to reclaim their humanity, and to make themselves be completely aware of who they are. And I don't want any admiration or
and see, that's
any of that kind of garbage. I want to help humanity back on its feet into a system of a free, loving planet of human beings who will travel to the stars in a way that we were meant to travel to the stars, not in this corrupt system of control and evil, demonic enslavement, where everybody is perpetuated to the system.
One concept, a simple concept. Everybody can get this concept, okay? I forgot the concept. Never mind.
Come on, Steve, bring it back. Come on now.
All right, you guys, can I interrupt for a second here?
Wait,
I just want to let you know I got to step away from my screen for about 5 minutes. So I am going to let you guys go over tonight. So just go ahead and carry on, and I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Okay. No, it was what I was. Well, here's the profound thing when you start to learn. One of the tenets of sovereignty is you're never allowed to be a victim, and you're never allowed to be a perpetrator. It's kind of like the 3 rules of robotics. If you're going to learn sovereignty, you're going to have to learn humility first. And that's what I had to go through. I got my ass beat so hard by this universe to get that ego down low enough so that where the universe could show me about sovereignty. Because a person that learns about sovereignty before they learn about humility, they will be a monster.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, that's a very good point.
Yeah. So I'm not out here to try to wake people up and be enlightened. I'm with you. I'm just here to help pass them through. You know, I'll take my position. I'll do what I got to do, and then I'm getting out of here. This place,
and there's many times that I felt exactly the same way, Steve. But here's the thing, this is my philosophy on this. We chose to come here at this time in order to people like you and I, basic people, to try and help humanity wake up before it's too late and they become enslaved for an eternity. So for anybody who chooses to come here for a harsh lesson, it's going to be much harsher than they ever expected it to be.
And guys, we've never talked about this before, have we?
No.
I have never once spoken about this to anybody except my very closest advisors. Okay? What we're talking about is coming out right now is that we have to turn to the light. And that's the message that we're here to bring. And what my friend here is talking about is certain of us have been put on this, there's lots of us that have been put here to help, to be part of the healing. Because, again, the way you defeat these guys is healing and peace. And it sounds so counterintuitive, but we need the Wayseers. You guys ever see that Wayseer video before? If you haven't, you got to check it.
Steve, I haven't. Where can I find that?
The Wayseer. I think I've got it on my WSO site. But the Wayseer, you guys got to watch that, and then you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
At certain times, certain people are just given the ability to communicate this stuff, and that's what we're talking about. And we don't have to accept their script. And every so often, when there's been an enslaved group like this, like I believe the human species has been not only enslaved, but we've been downgraded. They talk about that they made us smarter from Neanderthal. Who the hell says that Neanderthal was stupid? I'd like to know. Their brain was bigger.
Steve, thank you. Finally, somebody said it. finally somebody said it. Who the hell? Where did they get the idea that they were just stupid, upright walking beings that didn't know how to rub two sticks together?
Just look at all their implements and stuff. No, what I see is a race, a group of beings that got wiped out by a star system and was trying to get their shit back together again. But anyway, that's just me. So I think that what we have going here is a long-term enslavement, genetic manipulation to downgrade us and to make us less spiritual, to make us less in tune with the Creator, make us less in tune with Source. And, you talk about fluoride. I didn't know this, but that pituitary gland that a lot of people ignore, that health of that gland, being able to hear what's going on in the universe is so critical. And, fluoride's biggest thing is that it basically calcifies the pituitary gland. It's insidious.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. There's no question about it.
So do you notice how it's harder and harder to communicate with each other, guys, in the world? Just hang with me for a second.
Have you noticed that people can't put two sentences together and make them coherent lately? Have you noticed that?
Talk
to the average person. They can't make a coherent statement.
No, I want to even actually get to a different part of this, though. It's the spiritual vibratory side. I'll give you an example. I was checking out of a hotel yesterday, and I had a problem with my shower, and I said, guys, you guys got to discount this room because, two things I want in a hotel room, a bed and a shower, right? And I was laughing about it, right? And it was it's a normal thing, just discount it. And the young lady behind the desk goes, I'm happy to discount it, but you don't have to take an attitude with me. I'm like, wait a second. I said, I had no attitude whatsoever. I was loving, peaceful, joyful. And that's what I'm talking about. We have lost the ability to understand and tune in to each other's intentions.
Yeah.
Seriously. And
no,
part of being able to communicate as a species is just not our mouth. It's also what comes out of us electrically, what comes out of us chemically, which is, pituitary gland. So when you don't have empathy, I look and say, is the pituitary gland sick, right? Because empathy has to come from somewhere. We don't have it on our own.
Well, and also, Steve, that the real mind is in the heart and it's not in the brain. That the brain itself is just a functionary system that makes our physical, biological bodies, function. There's the heart brain, and then there's the other part of the brain, which is a dual system. But the heart, you think about it, it's a total electrical system, just like the brain. And if it doesn't have that electrical impulses, and that is what we generate because we live in an electric universe, this body would cease to function. But I think the heart brain and the gut brain, which are multiple, is what allows us to have the compassion, the love, the extraordinary emotions that we feel when a loved one is hurt or a loved one is in suffering or you're emotionally distraught. And someone who has that awakening sympathizes and understands what you're going through, that that emotional stress and spent of your life, and they're able to pick up on that and try and give that comfort in order for you to heal through that process. So many people throughout our world are emotionally blind to that because they've been cut off from it, just like you said. Why? Because their pituitary gland has become dried up like a shriveled, little ball of potassium.
Yeah, and it's not, So here's what the thing that's amazing about this conversation is that I've had contact. I'm admitting that tonight. Okay.
Well, then you're part of my brotherhood as well, because I've gone through it many times, brother.
No. But here's what's interesting about this. What I want to say is I finally just acknowledged. You know what? It's look. I mean, I'm making contact. These people are talking to me. And,
that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Right. But here's the thing. You and I have never met. And you
Nope.
and I are saying exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
Doesn't that
'Cause
give
we're on
anybody pause that two men have never met each other and we both come up with the wildest ass theory you've probably ever heard?
Well,
But it's
you see,
identical?
but that's the whole thing, Steve. You just brought the whole subject to the point. You brought it to the pinnacle. Two people who have never met, who come from two different, completely opposite sides of the planet, who look at life differently. One coming from a biblical perspective. I come from an altruistic, spiritual perspective, but yet we're saying the same exact thing. Is that so different? I don't think so. What it is, it's an accumulation of knowledge and experience bringing us to the same point of understanding. And that is the incredible part, the same point of understanding. So it doesn't matter where you come from, what aspect you live from, what doesn't matter, color, creed, race, any of that doesn't mean anything. If you understand, open your mind, and can come to the conclusion, like you and I have right now, okay, from total different opposite sides of the sphere, then why isn't our world totally coming to a conclusion of understanding that, hey, this whole thing is one giant illusion. It's a lie. Everything they've told us is a lie.
That's just it. The reason that we're being allowed to say things that I've never been allowed to say before in public is because, guys, we're coming to the climax. We're coming to the great moment. And so what is the great moment? The great moment is going to be when you put yourself down to help others. That's what's got to happen. You need to put the needs of others.
You just took the words and breath right out of my mouth.
That's the test. If you're out there for yourself, you're going to be doomed.
You just said it so succinctly. It just took the breath out of my lungs. The moment you put yourself out of the picture and put everybody else in front of you, which becomes service to others, selflessness, is when you win.
But it has to be from a sovereign point of view, because other people will try to control and manipulate you. And that's what I've been learning in the last year especially, is when you start to wake up to your sovereignty and your power, people want it. They want it, okay?
Yeah.
And they think that if they control you, that they can get it from you. And that's what I had to go through with all my personal relationships. They just all exploded because I wasn't letting anybody control me.
I went through the same thing, brother. I went through the same exact thing.
Nobody's controlling me.
They want to take.
Serve you.
They want to take, they want to take, and they want to take until there's nothing left to take. And at one point you have to say, you know what? I need to give and let you stop taking.
That's exactly right.
I'm a round peg trying to cram me into a square box.
Exactly.
And again, it's like if you're around me, if you spend time around me, and as I'm growing spiritually, and maybe find this with other people too, not just me. Like I think of being around Duncan Trussell. I love him. So, you would find out that I will not bother you in any way, shape, or form. I will not. You are sovereign. You decide when you want to eat. You decide when you want to do whatever, and I'll decide when I want to do whatever. Right?
Without a question, because I would never try and convince you otherwise.
Right. A sovereign being respects the sovereignty of others and expects their sovereignty to be respected as well. Well, what I found out in my last couple of relationships is most people that are in a partnership relationship can't handle that.
Well, that's the truth. That's the truth bomb that they can't handle, Steve. They don't know how to deal with themselves living in a truthful situation, a truthful relationship. So they always have to, like, what's the word I'm looking for? They always have to, shed their inability to behave as an actual human with their own responsibilities towards themselves. They want to shove it off on everybody else.
Yep, they've learned, and this is so brutal, man, but it's so true. They've learned, they've been deceived into thinking that being a victim and getting sympathy or being a perpetrator are the ways to what they want.
That's right.
And a sovereign being doesn't accept being a victim or a perpetrator. In other words, I can choose to leave. If I don't like what's going on here, I can go because I'm sovereign.
100%. I just couldn't agree with you more. And that's what it all comes down to, is being a self-reliant individual who has the ability to realize their own reality and not be manipulated by anybody else. You can't put that any more succinctly, brother.
But that's true love. Nobody manipulated Jesus, remember? So
exactly.
I'm using my Bible because
no,
he's
no, no,
such
but
a great.
That's fine.
He was an avatar.
Absolutely.
If you don't know, if you don't believe that, go read your Bible again. He's an avatar.
But Steve, I've never read the Bible, but what I know of Jesus, that's exactly correct. I've read and understood little snippets here and there. But he was a sovereign individual. He was a sovereign individual, only trying to tell people, look, it's about love. Don't manipulate anybody.
When to go across
don't
the
rob. Don't steal. Don't be a loving person. Give to others, because this is what reality is. Not all the other nonsense that we've been fed.
He's walking around. He's walking around, and the people are trying to control him. You got to. Again, I know my Bible really well, so they would do all kinds of stuff to control him. Even the disciples, man. And he would one day he looked over at Peter and he says, "Get thee behind me, Satan." He says, "I'm sick of this. Get behind me. I am a sovereign being."
Exactly.
And he thinks, and then he says, "I'm his brother, so that means I'm sovereign too." And I just get a big smile, from God whenever I say stuff like that.
But we're all sovereign. We just need to figure it out, just like you said. And the moment that awakening comes, that light bulb comes on, you realize that the whole system manipulation falls apart around you. The only unfortunate part about all this is that we are all fighting the uphill battle against the illusion. We're trying to, like Planet X, excuse the...
okay, we have a guest that's requesting that you guys talk more about Planet 7X news, please.
We are.
Well,
okay.
This is exactly what we're talking
about. See, this is what you're not getting. What you guys aren't getting is we're saying that this is the harbinger of the change. This is what's going to change it one way or another. This is going to be the deciding line. And the reason why the Buddhists talk about this all the time. They say these things happen just to unroot evil because it gets so rooted.
Just like a child who needs to be force-fed who won't eat, that's exactly what's taking place right now. It's coming either way, whether you like it or not. And whether you accept the consequences or don't accept the consequences of this natural transformational change that's happening, you're going to get it either way.
The reason we talk about this, or I talk about this anyway, the reason I talk about these spiritual things is because I'm preparing people to die. Do you understand me? I'm preparing people to live. Do you understand me? There's more to this than just a big rock coming at us. People have to be ready for it spiritually. And what I mean by that is be ready to die and be ready to live.
And just a caveat to that, there is no real death. It is just a transition. We've all come here. We've gone through this on many levels, whether here on this planet or on other planets. We are here for transitional changes, to have experience, to grow. It's all about growth. It's all about love. It's about experience, giving, selflessness. This is what it's all about. And that's my point of view, Steve.
Right. I mean, let me give you an example of a Nibiru test, like that will fit this conversation. Do you get a sense of glee thinking about San Francisco falling into the ocean, 2012 style? Does that give you a little jolt? Does that give you a little, told you so? Any of those feelings?
If you want to
hang with me. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you.
Okay.
Because if it does, I'm going to ask you to check yourself right now. The last thing in the world, want to see San Francisco being dunked in the ocean. Do you know how many beautiful people live in San Francisco? Do you know how many families with kids and moms and brothers and grandmothers? Guys, I just want you to change your frame of reference, because when the big stuff starts to hit the fan, if you're not ready for it, you will be swept up into a tide of fear and control. And you've got to resist it.
More so than we already are under control of.
This is milquetoast compared to what we're going to go through.
Oh, yeah. No question.
So I'm just saying, buckle up, you know. Anyway, we went over that, and that we are talking about Planet X, guys.
Yeah, it's all relation to Planet X, all of it. Everything has to do with the events that are taking place and how, you know, we live through the process and how we use our minds to, you know, basically explore the idea of why we're here, what we're doing here, why did we come here, was it our choice to come here to live through these experiences to help others, or maybe even, look, there's the other possibility of this as well, Steve, and I've talked about this, you know, you can't, there's always opposing forces that live in a balance. We have the opposing forces against us who are suppressing all the information, right? And then there are us who are pushing the truth forward. It is always a balance. Well, I can't say it's a balance, but it is a battle of wills that wane from left to right, or however anybody chooses to look at it. We happen to be here on this side because we're looking at the light side of things, and then we have the opposite forces who are looking at the dark side of things, who are, of course, lower level beings who are coming in, who have come in to this existence where we came into the existence to battle those forces. So biblically, Steve, I think you're right, because the Bible does talk about it, because I really am not, like I said, I haven't read the Bible, but I know a little bit about it, to say, yes, it's always opposing forces, good against bad, light against dark. We happen to be on the light side, pushing back on the forces of the dark, who need to learn a lesson. And these folks who are opposing us and perpetuating all this darkness are going through the same process of learning, and eventually they will come to the side of light as well. That's my theory, Steve, but
they're going to
correct me on that.
See, this is the thing I've been taught too recently, is that it's all they're doing is prolonging their own suffering to where they're going to finally have to come around and reconcile. So, I mean, they're going to reconcile too. The key thing about this event, there seems to be something about this time around, and this particular configuration, this particular way everything's lining up. There's something very critical, and I don't know how to articulate it yet. I don't know how to describe it yet. But this event is tied to so many downstream things, guys. It's not even funny. And a lot of folks know it, right? And
well,
so
we all know it.
That's true. I know it. You know it.
There's
right?
no question about it. In my mind, there's no question about it. And again, like
right.
I said,
but here you go. Here's the guy that's never read a Bible, and here's the guy that's been through all the Bible schools and everything, and we're coming together and saying the same thing.
Without a question.
About what's
without
happening.
a question.
You're freaking me out right now.
I shouldn't be freaking out. It's a merging of ideas that have reached a pinnacle, a peak to that merging point. In other words, it's fused. That, like I said earlier, you come from this side, I come from this side, but yet all the things that were told from my friends upstairs, and of course you came out and admitted that, yes, you have your friends upstairs too, but always maintained that biblical sense and point of view. Doesn't matter. It's still merging, and all the information comes to what? It comes to the same understanding, the same point of view. So, you know what's amazing to me is that this is not just happening with you and I and Bibi on this show. This is happening with everybody. It's happening with scientists. It's happening with the people who are highly involved in biblical scriptures. It's happening with archaeologists. It's happening with geologists. It's happening with people who have never heard of this stuff, but they know something is happening. It's coming to that point of transition.
Yeah, like if you go spend a little time, guys, just go check out quantum physics, the current state of quantum physics, right? Go try to listen to a couple of YouTubes on this stuff. Their minds are being blown right now. They're actually saying quantum physicists that make computers and, are responsible for all these wonderful modern things we have are also saying that we live in a grand illusion. Oh, my
Sticks, grand
God.
illusion. Sticks, grand
yeah.
illusion.
That gives away our age, man.
Yep.
I know one person who lives in a grand illusion. What do you guys think about the Dr. Ronald Shimchuk?
You know what? I found that, baby, I found that very interesting. I felt really bad for the interviewer. It was awful, but this is my take anyway. I give this Mr. Ronald Shimchuk this, that he's also 85 years old. He's probably fed up. He understands what's coming, and whether it's in 2035, as he says, or it's now, which I believe, my personal viewpoint, it's now. Either way, he's done. He's fed up. He's had enough, and he's known about this a long time. He's held it in his heart for a long time. He lost his wife. He's a lonely old man, and I probably believe he'd prefer to have it happen now than 30 years from now, which he won't be around for.
Yeah, and the thing that I thought was funny about that was that I was the first one. I was the one that was in the middle of his ruse to pretend like he was killed. Okay,
right.
I was the interviewer that day, and it was.
I remember
bizarre.
that, Steve. I do remember that, by the way.
Yeah, and I'm skeptical. I'm like, this isn't right, and I haven't spoken to Michael, the guy that has that channel, since. So I don't know.
As long as you don't interfere with his rat killing, I think he'll be happy.
But anyway, Dr. Shimchuk on this last one said, I don't know about that, Steve Olson. I think he might be CIA.
Right, yeah, right. Hey, Steve, you got the keys to the Golden City, baby?
I wait for it's like I tell BB all the time. I say, if we're in the CIA, BB, then where in the hell is our paycheck? Because I need it.
Me too.
You know what? Honey, could you just get these gang stalkers off my butt?
I know, right?
Okay.
Anyway, I got to go eat something.
Why don't you talk a little bit about our upcoming interviews and what we're doing with WSO? Because I'm going to wind it down here in a few minutes.
Right on, and I gotta get run. I gotta eat something before everything closes. But so Badbaby and I have started a show called Deep State Blues, and we decided to put it behind the premium wall to test it. That's the WSO live site that we have, and see what we're having a really good response on it. So we're going to start bringing it out more public, and Badbaby and I are going to continue to expand this into hopefully a YouTube channel spinoff called Deep State Blues. And what we've been talking about on our show has been primarily the intense harassment that both Badbaby and I suffer, and then looking at the current news, facts, papers, executive orders, all the stuff that's enabled this horrible behavior of our authorities. We call it the Deep State Blues. So I hope you guys join us and look for those episodes on WSO. And Badbaby and I are partnering up to try to put out another hunk of truth. Right, Badbaby?
Yeah, and when we actually, when we do these shows, we post genuine articles to back up the facts of what we're saying. So it's interesting. I haven't been doing shows the last couple of weeks. I haven't been feeling well, but as soon as I get caught up here on the farm and start feeling a little better, we'll be back at it. So just look for us to get back out there. Hopefully in a few days I'll be back out there and pulling it up to stuff. But yeah, we got a lot of, and like we said, we did one on the technology, like the television set and how they can watch you through the TV and listen to you through your thermostat. I mean, even the new refrigerator that they advertise, that you can take your iPhone and take pictures. There's a reason for it, people. There's a reason. So, look for our shows. We're going to have them out there.
Yep, and they're going to be on GNN, WSO, and then also WSO Live, and we're just going to continue to just expand the idea, Deep State Blues, Badbaby. And that's what we got going on, and then we're just going to continue doing what we do every day, and you guys know how this gig works. It's like every day is a new day, and you just got to take it one day at a time.
Well, I want to thank you guys both for coming in tonight. It was a pleasure having you talk about what's going on and how to deal with it and where we should be in our mindset. Very uplifting, and we'll have to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, thank you, brother. I just enjoyed this conversation with you. Badbaby, thank you so much for allowing me to participate as always. I love you both. And like you said, Steve, you know what? We're all brothers in this fight for truth and reality and what's to come. And you know what? We'll get through it. Doesn't matter. We will get through this. And it's what the most important part is, how we come out on the other side. Because if we can destroy this control construct, we will be free for the first time in our lives, brother.
In a long time. That's what they're telling me. So
exactly right.
I love you guys. I love you.
We love you too, sweetie. I told oh, he hung up. I didn't get a chance to tell him that he was my cutie patootie too.
Oh, I think you told him that. I think you told him that at the beginning of the show.
No, I didn't tell him. No, you're my cutie patootie one. He's my cutie patootie two. But I'll let him know when I talk to him privately.
All right.
I want to thank you, too, for joining us, and I want to thank everybody that came in tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. Join me next week. We are going to have the one and only David Mead out here. So
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, he's good.
He's amazing.
I love having David. He's just something special. He really is.
All right, bad girl. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.